Whenever anybody asks me what are some of the best affordable, most interesting and best made watches out there, I come out with a few different options, but always one of the options that I always give to people is Phoibos. Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I'm talking about watches. Well, you'll notice that the studio behind me looks a little bit different, and that's because today you can get a little bit of a sneak peek of what my studio is going to be in the near future. In a few weeks, you'll start seeing this more and more. But today, what I want to be talking about is a watch from Phoibos, a brand that I've owned previously and that I've had some really positive experiences with, and watches that I've really liked, and watches that I've also been able to afford. So when Phoibos actually reached out to me and said, hey, they're re-releasing a watch that was really popular within their range, a watch that I didn't get a chance to get hands on because they were sold out, the new Eagle Ray GMT, I thought, wow, that's awesome. I like Phoibos watches. And this one is particularly interesting because I've seen so many positive experiences out there, reviews about this watch, and because it was sold out so quickly, I can only assume that it is rather popular. So I said, yes, please, that would be absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, Phoibos. So now I get to have this watch in my collection, I get to wear it, I get to experience it, and I get to share my experiences with it with you guys. But because of that, you would have seen that sponsored icon pop up. And I'm also going to leave a link to the Phoibos website down below. Now, I have seen in their sort of launch of this watch, they're offering a 20% discount as well. So if you are interested in this one, it might be worth checking that sort of website out and grabbing onto that 20% discount. Right now, I just want to share with you my first impressions of this watch. I'll then be wearing this one for the next sort of 4 to 6 weeks before I do the full in-depth review of this one. Hopefully it's not sold out by that stage. But today, I just really want to share with you the things that really stood out to me as soon as I pulled this one out of the box. Let's check it out. So we have the new Phoibos GMT, the Eagle Ray PX023. This is the 2023 version, and it comes in this sort of standard Phoibos packaging, which I'm actually always happy about. Lots of information, warranty cards, and bits and pieces in here. But today we're here to see the orange version of the Eagle Ray GMT. And when I did take it out of the packaging, there were 5 things that stood out to me. And firstly is this orange color. Now, there are quite a few different color variations of this one, but I really wanted an orange watch in my collection. And when I first saw these watches come out a year or so ago, in the first iteration of them, the orange really stood out to me. And when it arrived, I'm so glad that I picked the orange because it is such a cool orange. It's almost like a rusty orange or a sort of a fading orange. It goes from quite a nice strong orange in the center to a darker orange and almost a black on the outside. So that's such a cool feature, this color of this particular watch. The next 2 things that stood out to me have to do with the crowns. First thing was that they're actually quite small. I didn't expect them to be so sort of teeny-weeny. Now, being a quartz watch, that's actually perfectly fine because you're not going to be adjusting this one much at all. So having it a little bit smaller, having a little bit more compact is probably a good thing. What I can say, the quality of them is fantastic with the little sort of octopus there or octopi there. Really easy to grab onto, really easy to sort of manipulate and change. But the third thing that stood out to me was the action of the top crown here, which operates the internal rotating bezel. It is beautiful. It's screwed down. There's some nice clicking as you go between the sort of positions. It is probably the nicest internal rotating bezel action I've experienced. So that absolutely stood out to me. The 4th thing that stood out to me was actually this tropical rubber strap. Now, I am not a huge rubber strap fan. Well, let me rephrase that. I like rubber straps, but whenever I wear a watch on a rubber strap, it makes me feel like it's a tool watch versus an enjoyment watch, if you sort of know what I mean. This one here, however, is probably the best rubber strap I've experienced. It's obviously like that tropical style, but it has a real sort of thick feel to it here, and it sort of thins down to a much thinner perspective here, which makes it sit on wrist nice, and it's really soft. Really good, and being this style, there's lots and lots of options then to fit on your wrist. The 5th thing that actually stood out to me is actually when I put it on, and that is how it fits on wrist. Both the size, the width, and just how it sits. It's a really lovely watch to have on wrist, and that strap, like I said, I'm not a huge rubber strap person, but there's something rather special about this one, and probably special in conjunction with this watch. It just really suits it and is super comfortable. It's also not particularly heavy because it is a quartz watch, so it just has a really nice wrist presence. But I think if you're somebody who's actually going to be buying this watch, you're going to be buying it because of the looks. And I have to admit, I'm one of those people. I really like the looks of this one, and I've been really sort of enjoying seeing it, looking at it, and seeing all the details on it. There are so many details on this watch, and I like watches with details because it sort of doesn't just give you a good looking watch, but it draws you into the watch and gives you that opportunity to appreciate some smaller details. Things like those crowns, things like the raised indices, things like that fading dial, things like the sort of the little ridging on the bezel here, and sort of just the general aspect of the watch as well. And because this watch is actually a GMT watch, on the back they've got some GMT style stuff on the back there, showing you the different world time options. So I think that's a really nice detail, brings it all together very nicely. Nice strap, nice hardware, nice looking, cool crowns. What is not to like? And it's also priced extremely well. Guys, I'm going to keep keeping this one on wrist before I do the full review, as I always do. But whilst you wait for that, maybe check these videos out next.